How are we doing today? I hope everyone is having a wonderful Wednesday so far. My name is McCry Stuhlin, and here on Crafting with Crow, we work on a current project from Native Crow Taxidermy and Oddities, LLC, while I tell an interesting story of a topic that is on my mind. Here are a few places you can find me, like me, share me, and subscribe to my channel to keep up with new projects and posts weekly. So today, we are going to be working on the satchel bag, part 2. I already have the silky black fabric put here on the back side. So we're just going to work on stitching this up today while I tell an interesting story. This leather is going to be really thick too, so bear with me on this one. Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about something that I stumbled upon on my Facebook. I'm part of a lot of groups on Facebook, and one of them includes the True Crime and Mystery group. I know there's a lot of them, but there's a particular one that I'm a part of, and for some reason, I don't know why, but the true crime is just so fascinating to me, and sometimes I feel like I should probably include a tidbit of true crime in some of my videos because it's just intriguing to listen to and learn about, even though it's so dark. But a particular story, it was actually a video that I had seen, and it was really pretty hard to watch, to be honest. But it was video recorded. This incident took place in December of 2025. It was a situation where a 19-year-old man had been visiting a zoo in Brazil, the country, and he walked upon the lion enclosure, and for some odd reason, he decided he wanted to go inside this enclosure and see the lions up close. So what he did was he climbed over a 18-foot barrier and grabbed onto a tree and scaled down the tree into the lion enclosure. And what you see in this video is the lioness kind of run up to the man, and it kind of hunkers down and is looking at him. And then he continues to go down the tree, and then the lion snatches him and takes off with him. Now the video that I saw, you don't see what the lion does, but it's fair to assume and know exactly what happened to this poor man. And it really sucks to say, but don't mess with the wildlife. Even though they're at the zoo, they're still not tame, cuddly pets. So the victim was later identified as Gerson Machado, who was said to have a history of schizophrenia, so he was mentally kind of unwell anyway. And others state that he always had this dream of becoming a lion tamer. So that's also a theory as to why he decided to go down into the lion enclosure. Unfortunately, when he went down in there, there wasn't anything that the zoo officials could do because it all happened so quickly. And the zoo kind of determined that the lions were really just acting out of defense, like it was just a normal instinct for the lions to react like that. And they had shut down the zoo to get forensic investigation in there and figure out how everything happened and what their next steps were. And then the zoo veterinarians also got in there and kind of made it a point that the lions were only acting out of defense, and they determined that there was no need to euthanize the animal, which for me, it's probably kind of weird to say, but I'm thankful that they made that decision, because I'm someone who's always siding with the animal in a strange way. I mean, I feel like make better decisions and survival of the fittest. I don't know. Just don't mess with animals. But, yeah, they decided not to euthanize, and they later reopened the zoo to the public again and just made it a point to keep an eye out and make sure that people don't try to pull that same move that that man had made. And while it is tragic to watch it and see it and know what happens, I will also state that just don't mess with the animals. Know that these zoo animals are just caged animals, and they have very, very little human contact. The only time they really do get human contact is when they have to go to the vet, and they're usually sedated for that anyway. They are not just plopped out and cuddly and everything. And I see a lot of people kind of posting videos on the media, a lot of actual lion tamers and stuff posting their videos and making it look like, oh, the lions can be so sweet and so cute and so cuddly. But those particular ones are kind of handled regularly. The ones at the zoo are not. So please don't ever think that you could just climb inside a zoo enclosure and befriend a lion or any other creature. But reading on this, of course, like I had said, my first thought was the animal okay? Did they choose to do anything drastic with the animal? And the reason why my mind went straight to that is because of the incident that happened at the Cincinnati Zoo in Ohio. So what happened in the Cincinnati Zoo, there was a family visiting, and they had small children with them. They had gone to the gorilla enclosure, and I guess there was a 3-year-old boy that had slipped through the bars. And all of this happened in 2016, so this was a little while back, but I still see a lot of stuff regarding it, and every time I read about it or I see this particular memorabilia, it makes me really sad to think about. But there was a 3-year-old boy that accidentally slipped through the bars of the silverback gorilla enclosure. And what had happened was the gorilla walked up to the boy and he grabbed him. He grabbed the boy by his legs and started kind of dragging him around and toying with him, and was dragging him through the water and up onto the rocks. And of course, everybody was freaking out. This went on for about 10 minutes, according to some reports, that the gorilla was just playing with this boy. And they had contacted the emergency zoo officials, and they came out to assess the situation. And what they ultimately decided to do was to take the gorilla down. They fired a lethal round into the gorilla's back, ending his life. While this was terrifying, and they felt like at this time doing the lethals was the only option, a lot of people were really outraged over this. Not only because they had taken out a zoo animal, But this was also an endangered species. The silverback gorilla has declined in numbers, and there are very few of them that are kept. And then just keeping them behind bars in a zoo is even more sad. And knowing that that's where the gorilla ended up perishing, it's just heartbreaking to the public. And a lot of people were outraged and questioning, why didn't the zoo use tranquilizers? According to the zoo emergency officials, they felt like the tranquilizers would not have kicked in time, that they needed to act quickly and get the gorilla down quickly so that it wouldn't hurt that little boy. Because gorillas, they are pretty unpredictable animals, and they have superhuman strength. They are incredibly strong for a wild animal. There's no amount of man that could take down a gorilla. So they felt like if they tried to use a tranquilizer, that it wouldn't kick in time, and it wouldn't make the gorilla calm down and sleepy in time, and that there was just too much risk that it would end up injuring the little boy. So the little boy ended up coming out of this with little to no injuries, and he was brought back to his parents. And there was a lot of talk and bashing on the parents in this situation as well. Like, how could you not keep an eye on your small child and make sure that he wasn't going to slip in or get away or get into something he shouldn't have? And I feel like I do have to agree with that, because it's a 3-year-old, for God's sake. It's a very young child. This child definitely needs supervision. So fortunately, the child was recovered with no injuries, but it is truly heartbreaking, the outcome of the situation, to get the little boy back. This gorilla was named Harambe, and he is memorialized and remembered every year. I always see little images of him and his birthday and his death day, and it just breaks my heart to know that what the situation was, how the story went, and the fact that they didn't at least make the attempts to trank him first. I mean, I kind of feel like if the gorilla had 10 minutes to drag this boy all around, then they had 10 minutes to get tranquilizer in him. And I am someone who has worked at a veterinary clinic, and while I know cats and dogs are not the same, I do know that with the proper sedation, you could get a big, mean animal to calm down fairly quickly. I just wish that they had at least tried it first rather than ending the animal's life. So that's a good example of why I always feel like I'm more concerned about the animal in the situations. Even in movies or TV shows, I'll see a family get attacked, or horror films. We all know how those end with the family members, but when it comes to like the pet dog or the fish in the bowl or something like that, I'm always like, is it okay though? Like, what about the dog? What about the cat? Did they make it out okay? It's funny that my heart is always going out to the animals before it is the people. But again, yeah, I feel like, first of all, if you are a parent, keep a close eye on your children anytime you leave your house, even at home. Kids could get hurt at home too. You got to keep an eye on them. They're going to be curious and get into things. And as far as the 19-year-old man that was unfortunately mauled by the lioness in Brazil, I don't know if he was there with anyone or not, but it sounds to me like he probably should have been, with having his mental problems and his curiosities too. With the internet being flooded with a bunch of people having close bonds with wild animals, it kind of gives us this fantasy illusion that we could also gain that. And I don't know if that's really anything that was going through that little boy's mind, but it was definitely going through Gerson's mind. And it's just really unfortunate that these videos can be so misleading to people. It's not that easy. You have to really bond with these animals, and oftentimes with the zoo animals, like I said, the only interaction they really get with people is when they have the zoo visits. Other than that, when they see people, the people bring them food. So they have associated people with food. And that is never a good thing. Yeah, people might try to argue, well, if you give a dog a treat, then the dog thinks you're friends. True. But that's also a dog, a domestic, tame, human-bred animal for many, many years. We're talking about wild animals that have very little human contact. At least with the dog, you could give it a treat and then scratch its head and it's friends with you. With the lion or even the gorilla, and I don't think that the gorilla really meant any harm. I think he was just really curious. And I feel like that's a debate that a lot of people have too. That if the gorilla really wanted to hurt the child, it would have. But there's also the knowledge of knowing that a gorilla could be gentle and still hurt something because they have such incredible strength. They don't even realize it sometimes, I don't think. But anyway, you can't just treat these pets or treat these animals and then they become your best friends. They will always still have that wild to them. These are animals that have not been captive bred, that have not been socialized with people. So just always keep in mind that zoo animals and wild animals are wild animals. I even work with wild animals. I've been doing wildlife rehabilitation and rescue for the past 5 years, and even with those, it's typically raccoons and possums that I deal with. I will help out with skunks every year, but I don't typically house the skunks at my location. But even these animals, the raccoons and the possums, even with raising them since they were teeny tiny babies, they still have that wild side in them, and they'll still show aggression when they feel like they are threatened or they need to defend themselves. So don't be fooled by these videos that you see and think, oh, I could get that too, oh, I want that too. That lynx looks so friendly, or that bobcat, or that raccoon. Well, it's not always going to be that way. Sometimes they still just have their wild tendencies. I'm just going to ask that you don't ever put yourself in that situation where you try to befriend a wild animal that has been a wild animal. because odds are you might get hurt. And we don't want that for anyone. Now, I've been thinking about trying to incorporate a little bit of true crime into my videos, kind of just going over stories and details, not getting too specific with it, because I feel like there's only so much that I could say before it goes too far. But maybe telling a kind of censored version of a real true crime story. So if that is something that you guys have interest in as well, please let me know, because I really enjoy watching, listening, reading about true crime, and I know a lot of other people do too. This one was like a really light one. I just talked briefly about what I had seen with that poor 19-year-old boy, and then it just reminded me of the situation with the gorilla. And the gorilla was actually just not too far from home, just a hop and a skip away. So it's just really sad to think about these animals kind of being held in captivity and perishing there because of a decision that a human made. I mean, we're better than that, guys. Let's think before we do. Let's try to be better for the sake of these animals. They don't want to be held there and just looked at like that. And it's up to us to make sure that they have the best quality of life that they can have in captivity. We all have to work together on that. So just please keep that in mind next time you're going to a zoo or some animal rehabilitation center. If you want an educational course or something like that, I do recommend going to something like that, some animal rescue center, and learning a little bit about them. Some of them have really tragic stories, but definitely think before you do. Think before you reach for that wild animal, or try to enter an enclosure, or climb over a fence, or scale a tree, whatever it may be. Please not only think about your safety, but think about the animal's safety too. So I just did one section, one side of this satchel bag. This is probably going to be a pretty long process, so we're definitely not going to get this part finished today, but I'll probably go ahead and complete stitching this up on the rest of the flap, and then preparing the satchel bag. The other part of the raccoon, like the body part, it's going to be the front of the satchel bag, and this is going to be the flap of the satchel bag. And I'm thinking I'm probably going to cut the tail off and make it a keychain to hang on the strap of the satchel bag, just so that the bag isn't hanging all the way down by your feet when you're walking. I feel like that's just too much length to keep that tail on the bottom there, but I do still want to keep it with the rest of the bag. Alright guys, so this is where I am right now with this. And I like the silky back to that. I feel like that's clean and nice. And there's its face. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know that it was kind of boring watching me work on the project, but hopefully listening to the story kind of helped break it up and make it more fun and interesting. I do plan on trying to get enough supplies put together to do diaphanized specimens, so I'll probably be trying to include some of those in my videos so that you could watch the process of doing that, plus listen to more fun, exciting stories. And if doing true crime sounds like an interesting thing, please let me know, and I will be sure to incorporate that. If you guys like true crime, I would suggest joining that True Crime and Mysteries Facebook group, because there seems to be a lot of really good stuff on there. Just be warned, some of it is kind of hard to watch. So, and they do post a lot of stuff on there, so just be mindful of that. But if you like today's video and you would like to see more like it, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and also check out my Friday uploads, everything freaky and full of mystery. Right there we talk about anything under the supernatural, downright shocking, or uncomfortably cringy. And there's usually some pretty interesting stuff on there. So be sure to check me out over there too. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Stay safe and make smart decisions. Don't be playing with any wild animals, guys. All right. See you next week. Bye.